Welcome back, everyone, to Hit Confirm. Today's episode, we will be talking about Tekken. We've also got a special guest, our first special guest for Hit Confirm, Jesse.
Hey, how's it going?
Our Inexpensive Jew.
That's me.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Inexpensive Jew. I do stupid series on YouTube called Video Game Fun Time that I haven't uploaded in 3 years. I also make music and play fighting games, which is why I'm here.
Put a couple of Jesse's links down below, too, so you can check out his stuff on YouTube or SoundCloud and everything.
SoundCloud probably more consistent because that's where I post my beats, but yes.
Right.
And I'm here too. And MAXX is also
Yeah, whatever.
Well, yeah, fine. Fuck, I'm leaving. MAXX! Whatever!
We will be talking about our past with Tekken for, I think, at least two of us. Maybe all of us. It's part of our childhood, this series. I skipped out on a few generations, but anyways, who wants to start on their origins with Tekken?
Guest can go first.
Okay, well, I started mainly, I think Tekken was probably the first real fighting game I played the most of because, I mean, I started with Street Fighter, of course, but that was really not, like, I played that with my cousin, but Tekken was the first game I actually bought with my own money. I got Tekken 4 when it was on sale. And it was just really fun. I don't know, the characters were fucking weird. I'd never seen anything like it before. And, yeah, I think it's an odd Tekken to go into as your first Tekken, because I think a lot of people consider Tekken 4 to be the worst. But yeah. I have a lot of nostalgia for it and the music, and I remember the announcer is always, like, just burned into my head. Like, that's one of the coolest Tekken announcers, in my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't have, like, internet influence until, like, Tekken 6 was out. Even though it was on the internet, I never read anything about it. I didn't know what anyone thought about Tekken 4 until just now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I say a lot of people consider it the worst, I mean MAXX.
I have my own. I definitely think it's the weakest of the Tekken games because of some of the stuff that they were trying that was new, but it was also a very hard transition to make because while Tag 1 was technically the first Tekken game on PS2, Tag 4 was the first, like, completely original PS2 Tekken game. So it was
Tag 4?
Right. I'm sorry, Tekken 4.
I want a Tag 4. I want Tag 3 as well.
Tekken 4, they just tried a lot of new stuff. Like, the stages have, like, steps on them in certain ones.
Right.
Just a lot of unorthodox stage designs. It was this weird kind of transitional period between kind of the more traditional Tekken 3 combat and then kind of the more juggle-focused Tekken that kind of started in 5 and then really got mileage in Tekken 6. So it's kind of just this weird stepping stone in the series. I don't hate it. I like to joke that I hate it. It's not a horrible game.
Yeah.
I still think there's a lot of fun in it. I agree. The music is fantastic and the announcer is super cool. But in such a impressive series, the only game that it's really above is Tekken 1.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
I totally know what you mean when you say it's like a stepping stone between, you know, the gameplay of 3 and the newer gameplay of 5, because that's totally what it feels like. It feels like this weird middle ground
agreed.
of a Tekken game. But
yeah, that's true.
yeah, it's it was for me, it was my first Tekken, and it'll still be fun for me. It'll still be that weird kind of. I don't know. I think the thing that made it the weirdest is the costumes, because you don't see any of the characters in any of the other games have those same costumes again. Like Paul Phoenix had like this long-haired, like heavy metal biker dude outfit, and I don't think I thought that was the Paul Phoenix I knew. I didn't really think of him as the dude with the tall hair. So when 5 came out, I was like, who the fuck, what? And then I looked back at the older games. I was like, oh, that's what he always looked like. Well, why did 4 make him look so different? So that was a weird thing. 4 had weird costumes.
Yeah, Jin's hoodie definitely looks awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I think King got a cool costume. Yoshimitsu's the only standout that I think does not look good. Like, I think that is Yoshimitsu's worst costume.
The bug Yoshimitsu.
Stupid beetle Yoshimitsu.
Beetle
always
skeleton.
hit and miss.
Yeah. But his alt was pretty good in that game. Do you remember which one that was?
I can't actually remember.
He kind of looked like that dude from Full Metal Alchemist that's like the skeleton armor guy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do know who you're talking about.
He looked like that, except it was like a red tunic. It was cool, but I don't think many people remember that costume because it was an alt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tekken 4, weird costumes, and definitely just a weird stepping stone in the franchise.
All right, you want to go next, Max?
Yeah, man.
Or do you want to take it last?
I'll take it last because mine's probably the longest.
Okay. Well, with me, we started with Tekken 2 in our household when I was way younger. I grew up in a family with 2 older brothers that were already, like, I think teens or early 20s. They're in their mid-30s now. So anyways, there was already consoles in the house, and I grew up with everything. But for PlayStation, they seem to only really play 3D fighting games like Soul Calibur and Tekken. So the first one I ever saw was Tekken 2, at least out of my recollection. Tekken 2 was the first one I saw. And I was very adamant about not playing it because I was very young and I thought all the hit particles were blood.
Oh,
Okay.
So I didn't want to play something so violent.
right. Spooky.
I get you.
And then they moved out, but they left most of the consoles at our house. And that's when I played more of Tekken 2 and Tekken 3. A lot more. There was a part where they were back in our house for a while, so that's when Tekken 4 showed up. Like, it was never like me or my brother, I'm the same age around me, playing or buying the games. It was only when our older brothers came by and introduced them.
Right.
But yeah, Tekken 2 was the first one I was introduced to and played.
Yeah, a lot of Tekken 2. It's for a lot of people, like when they're talking about their favorite Tekken like game, it's either 2 or 3. And they're both like drastically different just because of like the way jumping and like
Yeah.
like mobility works in general.
Yeah,
Well,
I went back to Tekken 3. It was like a while after Tekken 7's release because I have Tekken 3 on PS1. Feels very different.
Tekken 2 was because like Tekken 1 is incredibly floaty. It really is just kind of trading blows back and forth. Combos are nearly impossible to do unless you're really practicing. Whereas Tekken 2 kind of alleviated that. It had a much more robust roster of characters, including like unlockable stuff. And then I think it's one of those series where the trilogy just keeps getting like better and better as it goes.
Oh yeah. That's actually a really good point. With each game, it's actually gotten better. I don't really think there was like, oh wow, Tekken 6 was a step down from 5, or Tekken Tag was a step down from Tag 1, or like everything felt right.
I'd say generally people look down on Tekken 6 just because it was the first game to introduce Rage, and they hadn't quite figured out how to do that. It was the introduction of Rage and the introduction of the bound system.
Right.
Where, for those who don't know, it's where you can extend your combos basically by slamming the person you're juggling back into the ground so that you can pick them back up again and basically go to a second juggle. And in Tekken 6, you would have plenty of situations where you would basically get somebody close to death, and then with one good launcher, they can basically kill you with just Rage and 2 juggles and a bound.
Right.
Which didn't really start getting fixed until like Tekken Tag 2, and then I think Tekken 7 is in a really good place when it comes to how Rage mechanics work.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. That was actually one of the things I wanted to talk about as like a big difference between I didn't want to jump ahead on topics, but if we're going to start talking about the differences between a 3D and a 2D fighter and a Tekken or a Street Fighter, Rage is a huge, like it's like the biggest comeback factor in Tekken 7, and I cannot imagine that being in a Street Fighter game. Like that would piss off fans so much. But it just works.
Right, with the way it works, yeah.
Yeah, but it just works for Tekken, and it works really well. And I just wanted to talk about that. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll go real quick so we can move on to that.
Sure.
Tekken has, I would say Tekken is probably my favorite fighting game series overall, or I guess it's the one that's like closest to my heart. When I first got my PlayStation 1 way back, well, I guess when my dad first got his PlayStation 1 way back in the day, we had Interactive CD Volume 7, and on there was a Tekken 3 demo where you could play as either Paul Phoenix or Eddie Gordo, and you would fight, what's his name, Lei, right?
Yeah.
You would fight Lei and then Xiaoyu, and that's it. You would play 2 matches. And I probably played that every single day. Just those 2 matches going back and forth. Never owned Tekken 3. In fact, I never owned a Tekken game until the PS3, where Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection, the port of Tekken 5, you know, the PS2 one.
Yeah.
It was the very first game I have ever bought digitally. And I would just play Ghost Battle in that and just get customization and stuff. And then there was a sports bar that my family used to go to with friends and all that, and they had a Tekken 5 arcade cabinet. So I would constantly bounce back and forth between Dark Resurrection and vanilla Tekken 5, and that's kind of, I guess, where I fell in love with the game.
That's great. That's so funny that it started with a demo too, where you can only like do so little in the game. Like only play 2 characters.
I was maybe like 4 at the time as well, so
Right.
I was young.
Yeah.
From there, I bought Tekken 6. You know, I played that very very casually. You know, I went through scenario mode, had a bunch of fun, played more Ghost Battles. Tekken Tag 2 came out. I had that. And then around 2012 or 2013, I entered my first fighting game tournament, which was, I guess... Oh, no, it had to be CEO 2014. And I played Tekken Tag 2 and went, I think, 1 and 2. But it was my first experience playing fighting games locally, playing fighting games at a tournament.
Yeah.
And so... that'll always be a very, very special time for me. Is that so? So Tekken, while I do, it's hard to say. It's like I can't definitively say it's like my favorite series overall. It's definitely probably had the biggest impact on me over time. And now with Tekken 7, that is one of my games where I'm hosting events for Tekken 7, I'm hosting streams for now CEO, now my personal stuff, so, like, I have fully embraced Tekken now, and I think it's probably, if you're looking to start competing in fighting games, Tekken 7 is something you should look into, because it's very easy to start playing, but it does have an incredibly high skill ceiling where you're always going to be learning, you're always going to be finding new things.
I've always heard that, like, I never thought of it until we started discussing Tekken 7, but that Tekken 7, or like Tekken in general, was a super complex series to get into. And, I mean, it's something that, the series is something that clicked with me as, like, you have a huge list of moves, but you don't need to know all of them, and movement is always, like, the most important thing in the game. And that's what, like, I don't know, it just clicked with me. And I feel that's also why I like Smash, is because of movement anyways, but
yeah,
your options like that's a good way to segue into what we were going to talk about.
Jesse, what did you want to start with?
Oh, well, I just wanted, one little thing I wanted to note also was I got to play Tekken 6 a little early before it came to the States. Because it's
really?
a weird story, but I went into a Nathan's, a hot dog place in Brooklyn, and they had a Tekken 6 arcade cabinet in the back. This is before the home release, and I even asked, like, the guy, like, how did you get this? And they're like, oh, you know, our arcade guy, he's like, he finds this shit, it's weird. I was just like, okay. He's just like, yeah, he went to, like, Chinatown and bought it off of some person, I don't know. But I remember getting to play, like, Miguel early, because he was the first character. I was, like, really like, whoa, this is new to the Tekken franchise, and he's got this, like, weird, like, kind of nonchalant movement to him, and I remember really enjoying it, but... Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's always weird when you see a game.
Nathan's hot dog.
Yeah, Nathan's hot dog. In the back, they had like a really small arcade with like a bunch of shitty stuff, and then out of nowhere, Tekken 6. Like what?
Before release.
Before American consoles or anything, or even Japanese consoles. But yeah. Yeah, I guess we can segue on to this next topic, the differences between 2D and 3D fighters.
So right off the bat, obviously, that's a 3D fighting game. So you're not restricted to X and Y movement. You now have a Z to worry about. And what that basically means is that, like Austin said, movement is probably the most important thing to master in Tekken. It's like he said, Smash. It's also very important. It's the same for anime games when it comes to doing your micro dashes, air dashes, getting a handle on how your character moves is probably one of the most important things you can learn if you're just starting out in Tekken. Because defensively, in a game like Street Fighter, you have a backdash and you have a block, but in Tekken, your hitbox isn't, you know, just a square on the screen. It's actually somewhat conformed to the model of the character, so your options increase to ducking moves, jumping over moves, sidestepping moves, whereas the most optimal way to deal with pressure from somebody, or even to just move in, isn't always to block, move forward, block, counterpunch. Sometimes it's just dodge a move completely and then counterattack basically before their move even ends. And it's very satisfying the way Tekken rewards you for using proper movement, whether it be from learning what is the Korean backdash, which is simply just backdash canceling. So you stop the animation so you can get out of situations quicker, or wave dashing, which is just you get into situations quicker, I guess. The amount of movement options in Tekken are probably more than any other fighting game. And
Absolutely.
It's incredibly daunting at first, but it's not impossible to learn by any means because of how intuitive it can feel. It's just very important that you're playing on the controller or a setup that is most comfortable for you.
And what do you think would be, like, I guess, the most difficult thing for someone who's used to just playing 2D fighters to transition and learn when they get to a 3D fighter like Tekken?
I would say it's really kind of losing that mentality of how you play defensively and how you play offensively. Because the windows that you're going to find in Tekken that you're able to start playing your game, where you can stop playing defensively and switch to offense, are very small. So whereas in a game like Street Fighter, you might see an opening and throw out like a Shoryuken just to kind of reset everything before you move in, or, you know, just kind of mash jab to get out of situations. Tekken, the way the frame data works, you really do have to kind of just play very patiently and find whatever small opening you can, whether that be from dodging a move completely or blocking something, or some characters have counters or parries. But I'd say Tekken's one of those games where when you're on the defense, you have to play more patiently than I say the only game you'd have to play more patiently in is like Marvel. And then when you're on the offense, just knowing that a good amount of your moves aren't safe. So you're going to be doing a lot of kind of boring, safe moves until you can basically bait somebody for thinking it's their turn. And that's when you can throw out some of your bigger moves. So it really is just a whole... it changes the way you play the neutral as compared to a game like Street Fighter or...
When I was, like, starting with... or refreshing myself on Tekken when getting back into Tekken 7, what I could share that's been most helpful is to... when you're using your buttons, right? Your buttons are connected to... You should think of them as connecting to limbs. Because they are. And depending on... When you, like... You know, 1 and 2 for your punches, 3, 4 for your kicks. When you think of it that way, and that helps you know which direction your opponent could attack in, and that helps you know, like... For some... I'm talking about, like, movement options here. Because movement... sometimes to dodge moves, like... Or sometimes blocking your move isn't your only option. You have to dodge, and you have to dodge in a certain direction. You have to backstep, you have to sidestep, left or right. Knowing your opponent's buttons and what they could do, especially from their, like, positioning, like how they would kick, that's gonna help you know which way to move and avoid a punishment.
And then certain characters are definitely stronger on some sides than others. So something you just kind of learn by playing is like, okay, a character like Dragunov, I believe, is more susceptible to sidestepping left. Just for an example,
yes,
that might not be true.
Yeah.
It's
an example, yeah.
Yeah, but some characters' strings lean more heavily towards one side than the other. And that's another big thing about this game compared to a game like Street Fighter. Is in Street Fighter, everyone's got kind of the same basic kit. Whereas in Tekken, again, every character has anywhere from 70 moves, and then Hwarong has 144 moves.
Yeah, scroll through that
stances.
command list and compare it to other fighting games. That's just how it is with Tekken.
And it's incredibly intimidating until you realize that those are all of the tools you can potentially use, and you should know what every string does for your character, but you'll learn very quickly what moves are the most useful for you, and you'll narrow it down to maybe like 10 moves you use from like a medium distance, 5 moves you use up close, and then your combos and all that sort of stuff, your punishes. So just more so than memorizing the buttons and like, okay, this button gives me this move. Just kind of get a feel. It's like, okay, when I do this hand motion, this is what's going to come out. Because the way Tekken's system works is strings aren't done by basically canceling moves from one to another. Although that is what's happening. It's more like you're buffering the input. So you wouldn't hit like square, triangle, or 1-2 if you want to do like a left-right punch. You would hit 1-2 immediately, and then they would hit 1-2. The move would come out. So you wouldn't hit 1, wait for that button to hit, then 2. You have to buffer all your inputs. So once you know what it feels like to perform each move, and you're like, all right, when I do this motion, this is what's going to come out, it starts to feel more natural, where you're not even really thinking about numbers or buttons or what you have to hit. You just know, like, when I move my hand like this is going to come out. I would also say don't be too intimidated by other characters' move lists, because you don't have to know, you don't just have to know all your character's moves. You do, to a degree, have to know what every other character is capable of.
At least the ones that the moves that your opponent is using.
The only thing I can really recommend for that is just going into training mode, setting the dummy to be the character that you need help fighting against, and then you can set it so they go through their move list, and you can see like what's a true combo, what's a true block string, how you're supposed to block and duck and sidestep moves, and you basically lab it out that way.
Like, not right away, but you definitely can like go online and play like very like early on. Like if you wanted to just jump online, you could.
Yeah, for sure.
I've had a lot of fun time playing this game online in matches, especially with rank not being like punishing at all for a good while.
It's true, yeah. You'd have to at least lose like maybe 5 or 6 times before you get a demotion warning.
Yeah, and netcode is very solid too.
Yes.
Yeah.
On that front.
And yeah, again, when you first start out, you're probably gonna lose a lot.
Yep.
But just to name an example, I hopped into casual matches and I played against this Master Raven player, I think, and they absolutely destroyed me for 3 matches straight. And then it became so even, I ended up playing with the guy for 2 hours. We didn't say anything to each other. We just played matches. By the end, every single match was going to 2 rounds. And I learned how to fight Master Raven in those 2 hours.
Yep.
And now whenever I see it, I'm more prepared. So you're going to lose a bit in the beginning, but again, I think we say this literally every episode of this show. But don't be afraid to lose. Just know how to lose. Know what's beating you, what you can improve on. Always reflect if you want to get better. If you don't want to get better, then there's tons of single-player stuff to do in Tekken 7 as well.
Oh yeah, that expansive story mode.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's currently my favorite story mode in fighting games right now, because I don't really care for NetherRealms, and Street Fighters, it wasn't good. But it definitely has problems. I still don't think there's an incredibly solid fighting game story out yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really.
I
think
like a book.
I think it's still kind of new, to be honest with you. Fighting games story mode doesn't really, they don't really go together, and that's only something we've been seeing recently, I think.
Right, they've had stories, but story mode wise.
Right, like as a single player with like cutscenes and all that stuff that you normally see in like a single player story mode. That's not a fighting game.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really know who that's for besides the casual audience. I I don't know. No one buys a fighting game for the cinematic story.
Unless it's a NetherRealms game.
Right.
Injustice or Mortal Kombat.
True.
Yeah, it's something else that's there for you to do.
Yep.
You get 3 million fight money for it.
Yeah, they're very generous with that.
Yes.
Treasure battles, probably what you're going to be doing most in single player to get costumes and stuff.
Right.
Tekken 7 does have customization. They just added the color black back into the game.
I heard about that.
Them.
Yep. There was some issues with that, some glitch going on where people were exploiting a certain Dragunov costume to make him look like a black silhouette, and it made it harder to see him on the stage. So,
which is hilarious. He became 2D.
Yes.
Like
yeah, it was terrible. But then they patched the color black out of the game, and it pissed everyone off, and now they put it back.
Yeah, because they did it for everyone across the board.
Yeah, which I don't know.
Just took the color out.
Yeah. But that's another thing I think we can spend a whole time talking about, but maybe just a small segment we could talk about customization in this game. And how fun it is, and how it can actually affect gameplay, like some of the items you can use on your characters.
Let's get it out of the way, Jesse. Just say it.
Okay, I want to talk about the sardine shooter.
Go ahead.
It is.
Tell us about the sardine shooter.
Yeah, this is gonna be the shortest explanation ever. It's a gun that shoots out fish, and it's amazing. And if you wind up,
it does damage.
And it does damage. If you get a kill on someone with a sardine shooter, they might actually quit Tekken. So, it's definitely worth trying.
I was gonna bring it up earlier with when we were talking about online. The Tekken community, like, you know, they could be like disrespectful in a fun way. And this is an example where, like, in one of my first online matches, I fought a Yoshimitsu. And what this Yoshimitsu did was the first thing he did, like, at the start of the second round, because he knew I wasn't going to be able to beat him, he puts his sword away and he pulls out a combat knife. And then he continues to beat my ass with that.
I know King can combo into a shotgun.
Yes. That's the best.
It's really fun. I wish the item moves were disabled for ranked. But other than that, I think they're just a funny thing that's in the game.
Right.
And it makes me really happy that going forward, through like the season pass and DLC and stuff, they're adding tons of more customization stuff. Apparently.
Yeah, it says quote unquote hundreds. So
yeah. If you like making your characters look silly and unique, this game is for you. If you're expecting an extensive character creator with like head sizes and crazy Soul Calibur stuff, don't play this game. Because I know a friend of mine who got disappointed thinking the customization was that customizable.
And Harada did specifically say, it's like, this is not Soul Calibur. Tekken will never have a character creator.
Yeah.
And then he pretty much said, people only buy Soul Calibur for character customization, so we're going to keep it in that.
Yeah. They want to still sell Soul Calibur games. At some point.
Taking a little nod from Soul Calibur, Tekken 7 is the first Tekken game to feature crazy guest characters.
Yes.
Unless you want to count Gon, I guess, but
we
won't.
That was ages ago.
So Tekken 7, Akuma in it at the start. He is a major character in the story.
Yeah, he is.
Way bigger than he has any right to be, but it's cool. It's funny to see him. And coming later this year, my new main, Geese Howard, will be in the game.
Yeah.
Akuma will fight Geese Howard in Tekken. Dude, CVS 3 is here.
That's what I was thinking. The same exact. I was like, finally, we're getting Capcom versus SNK 3, made by Namco.
Oh, finally.
It took long enough.
And it's interesting that Tekken 7 managed to make like projectile characters and special move characters work in the formula without feeling too out of place or weird.
Yeah. Also, speaking,
it feels pretty weird actually, but yeah.
Speaking of true combos into shotgun, Akuma also has a true combo into shotgun.
Perfect.
So you can do, you know, the shotgun Goku Satsu.
Yeah. God damn it.
I'll be here all night, ladies and gentlemen. But that's a fun thing. Also, I remember when I just want to share a memory when Geese Howard was confirmed. I was in a Discord with you, Max, and I had the whole Discord muted because I wanted to really watch this and be, you know, I wanted to see who this new thing was.
Out.
And no, but this is what I saw. I saw in my volume mixer when Geese Howard's name came up, the entire volume bar went all the way up, and then when I unmuted it for like half a second, I just heard Max going, and then immediately muted it again.
I'm really upset that there is no recording of that.
Yeah.
That might be the loudest.
Yes, there is.
You were like laughing.
Yeah, I was recording.
Happiness.
I decided Max is probably gonna blow up at whatever this is.
No. Wait, so you have that recorded?
Yeah, we have that recording. Here it is.
Really?
Mishima, the world is too big for you.
No! Oh my god, it's Geese! Oh my god, it's Geese! Holy shit, it's Geese Howard! Oh my god! Oh my fucking god! Oh, this is so cool! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god, it's Geese!
The nightmare begins.
The nightmare!
For Capcom.
Fuck Lars! Fuck Lars! Oh my god, it's Geese Howard! Oh my god, my head hurts. Holy shit. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. Oh, my phone's blowing up. Oh, my phone's blowing up.
Oh my god! You could do the critical art. Erase it.
Cowards be gone!
The nightmare begins.
Oh my god. Oh my god, that stage is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit. Oh my god, he's got fucking dash cancels.
Oh, here's
Now
the
die.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god.
The weak shall perish. Geese Howard.
I can't believe I'm so happy. Oh my god.
That was the loudest I think I've ever yelled ever.
It was amazing. Dude, that trailer is so hyped too because it wasn't just the fact that we were watching it live or anything. I rewatched it again. It's just a well-made trailer. It's like the door opening up and the ding ding ding, and then he turns around. I'm like Tekken knows how to do like a reveal. Like Namco knows how to do a reveal.
They've been doing really
respect
good.
the characters. Respect their guest characters too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like they were very
see,
specific with who they were putting in the game.
Did you see the extended cut of that trailer where it's Harada going to SNK's offices?
Oh no!
And they like lay out pieces of paper with all like King of Fighters characters, and he picked. You know who Raiden is, right?
Yeah.
The big luchador guy?
Yeah.
He lifts up a picture and he points at it. He goes like, yeah! And SNK's like, no, maybe somebody else.
God damn it.
And speaking of those live-action Harada trailers, we just learned a couple weeks back that Tekken Bowl is coming back with the slow-motion mechanics and rage arts and probably online multiplayer. So Tekken 7 will probably get more extra game modes added on. So if you need replay value and like getting beaten in ranks is not enough for you,
right?
There is crazy stuff coming, and I bet the last DLC pack will have Tekken Ball in it.
Hell yeah!
That is my my.
I could totally
prediction.
see that. Yeah. It's like Tekken 7 does have the criticism for not having like as many options like custom wise or as many modes, but those things are just coming later.
Yeah.
I haven't liked the trend of like putting things in later, but that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least this doesn't seem like something that's just kind of shoehorned in. It's like, yeah, it's just on one of the stages, and they set up pins on the stage. Like, no, it is crazy the amount of detail in it. So much detail that it was probably slated for the original release and just didn't make the deadline, so they had to push it back.
I'm excited for it. I'm glad. See, like that's also more single-player content that could be fun for other people that don't. Yeah. Just who doesn't enjoy bowling?
Yeah.
I will be running Tekken Bowl tournaments in the Orlando area. Other than that, I would say the last thing I'd probably want to talk about is towards the end of Tag 2's life cycle. Unfortunately, it kind of went out like a fizzle, like it just sort of disappeared.
Right.
And that's partially because of how complicated Tag 2 is. Because when you take a complicated fighting game like Tekken 7, it's like, all right, now you control 2 characters. And you fight 2 characters. It wasn't accessible at all. even though it's kind of fun to play casually. So it kind of just sort of died out, less and less entrants. I think Tekken 7, just as a competitive game, and definitely as a spectator game, is way improved. Just because basically all the iconic characters are there. Except Anna, like, I know.
Yeah.
And the slow motion mechanic is probably the best addition, just in terms of like, oh, this game's probably going to be streamed a lot, so there will be audiences and they will think this is sick, and it is every single time.
The slow down function is just so much fun to watch.
But yeah, not just for the audience, but for the players as well.
Oh yeah,
for
sure.
Oh yeah,
because no one knows what's gonna happen, neither do the players.
And that happens anytime I think moves are like will hit within a certain number of frames of each other, and it could kill either person. Or no, it could kill one of the players, because it happens for comebacks as well.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. It is probably the coolest, just like add-on feature. And before it sucked, because it would happen on every counter hit back when Tekken 7 was in arcades.
Yeah, it looks very hammy.
Every time
when we first saw it.
Yeah, anytime two attacks traded, that would happen. Now, when two attacks trade, there's a big lighting effect, and it zooms in, back out. It's a quick thing that looks cool, completely destroys the lighting on the city stage for the rest of the match.
Yep.
But it's cool, and now slow motion is just, it's a neat thing. It doesn't happen every match, but when it does, I've yet to get tired of it. It is that cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think as a spectator game, just because while Tekken is complicated to play, there isn't like crazy like energy beams or meters or anything like that. I mean, Akuma's got projectiles, Eliza has projectiles, but it's still very easy to understand what's happening.
Right.
And just from my own personal experience, I just hosted my first Tekken 7 tournament that was completely run by me and my group. Everyone who was in the bar that night, who was already eating with their families, and then even people who came in who were regulars, stayed for the entire tournament.
That's great.
And we're getting really into it. Because at the end of the day, it's two guys just fighting, really.
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody doing Roman cancels and air dashing and critical arts and stuff. Well, the rage arts, but even still, that's mostly just punching each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can tell what's happening. So I think Tekken 7 will survive and will do really well, at least on spectator side.
Yeah.
Its sales numbers are impressive. It has it had a huge people that played during Evo, huge like audience there in person and watching the streams. It did very well, and it's just going to keep growing now that it's out.
And I will say, every single one of the Street Fighter players in our area, and we have a pretty we're a pretty active scene. Have all made the switch to Tekken and now play Street Fighter as a side game. Which is nuts to say.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy I can say it.
I wanted to do one last thing, where we started with our first games. What is our favorite Tekken out of all of them, out of everything considered for us personally?
I guess since I started at the beginning, I'll start. Can we give favorite Tekkens for genres, like favorite music, favorite gameplay, favorite announcer?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, favorite music, Tekken 4. I love Tekken 7's music, but Tekken 4's music will always stay with me. Favorite announcer, also Tekken 4. Favorite gameplay, Tekken 7, because this has just been the most fun to watch and the most fun to play.
Yeah, for me, it's Tekken 7. Out of like there's always a huge nostalgia for Tekken 2, Tekken 3, and Tekken 4, but Tekken 7 is like, out of all fighting games, I think Tekken 7 is my favorite fighting game that I've ever played, because of how fun it is, and I just want to keep playing it whenever we're playing it together.
That's a bold claim I totally respect, because it is that good. I will say, gameplay-wise, I really like what's happening with Tekken 7. I'll say it is my favorite to play. In terms of like just kind of the nostalgia value, Tekken 3 will always have a place in my heart. And Tekken 5 is just, it's that solid of a game. So that's probably how I'd rank it in the top 3, in no particular order.
I'd also want to give a shout out to one of the songs in Tekken 5. I think it was called Moonlit Wilderness. Or something.
That stage needs to come back.
Yeah, that fucking song
fight
was
in a pool
amazing. Oh my god. Moonlight Wilderness. I think so. I don't know if it's Moonlit or Moonlight, but basically it's the song that
Moonlit.
it sounds like something out of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right, then. I think we're ready to wrap things up. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Special thank you to Jesse for being here.
And thanks for having me.
And we have, like, a bunch of other hit confirms coming. They'll either be around this video or well after, depending on if we record more anytime soon. We have Injustice 2. We have Unil. I was talking about another Marvel one and another Street Fighter one.
Yep.
And Street Fighter 4. I have an Ultra Street Fighter 4 one.
For sure. And for everyone watching, I'm going to do this thing again. Top 3 Tekken characters in the chat. Whether you play it competitively, casually, Tekken's one of those games I think everyone has at least played.
Yeah.
So you can say one character, but you can't say more than 3.
Yep.
Should we give ours?
See that down below? Sure, quick.
Okay, Max, what are your top 3 Tekken characters?
Jin, because of his everything. Every single one of his costumes is cool. His gameplay is cool. All that. Lars, because he's a big, stupid anime man. And then, I think Xiaoyu is just such a cool character in the way she plays, and her Tekken 7 design is fantastic.
All right, what about you, Jesse?
Mine, oh god, if I had to pick 3 of the characters that I'll still always remember, fucking Bob. Because it's Bob. There's like no other characters I can think of in a fighting game that are like Bob besides like Bo Raicho in Mortal Kombat, but he's not even like
Rufus.
Or Rufus. I mean, I don't know, because Bob is like different from all the other big, you know, chunky.
Bob is cool. He's not a joke.
And he's got a badass voice. Like, he looks at you and just goes, "I'll fight you again anytime." And I think, wow, maybe not that deep. But yeah, Bob, Hwoarang, of course, because, you know, if you ain't got a reason, I do. And, and the last character...
The last episode you get to be on, Jesse.
Sorry. For everyone who wants to see a really cool ending, look up Tekken 4 Hwoarang ending. It's got the best acting in any video game. And just to be lazy, Combat, because he's a robot, and robots are cool.
Damn.
I would say Yoshimitsu, definitely. King, and from Tekken 7, I'd say Steve, because I've never had as much fun with a boxing character as I have with him. Alright, I believe that is it. Any last words, anyone?
Play Tekken.
Play
Tekken.
Fighting,
Just try it.
Fighting games are great.
And with that, we will see you all next time.
See ya
Peace.
later. Alligator.
Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye.